Another day, another controversy, another cancellation. But wait, Jay, this one was actually deserved. We'll get into that. There's a lot of opinions on this whole thing, but I think one thing can be agreed upon by everybody, regardless of personal beliefs, regardless of their thoughts on what happened, regardless of who they are. The situation's a mess. It has had a lot of fallout, and there are certainly some, I guess, burned down bridges here, and really just issues now with the fandom again. I'm here today with Alex from Podcast Now. Thank you so much for being here, Alex.
Thanks so much for having me, and can't wait to talk about this controversy.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to get mad about us talking about it.
Yes.
The whole thing with Gina Carano, and well, before we hop into this, Alex does have a fantastic channel on YouTube, Podcast Now. He also has Podcast Now Plus, a secondary channel that I truly believe is underrated, along with social media and all that stuff. The link is in the description down below. If you enjoy my channel, I know you'll enjoy his, so be sure to check him out. He is not only a great collaborator, but a actual personal friend of mine outside of work, someone I consider an actual friend, not a work acquaintance. So really support him very much. Be sure to check him out. And here's the thing with Gina Carano. She has been on thin ice for a while, and you can say that that's a good thing if you believe that. You can say it's a bad thing. I personally think it's a bad thing because there has been a lot of hypocrisy with this entire situation. Gina was finally fired, or should I say not asked to come back, or whatever you want to say, the nice politically correct way of saying, pack your things, get out of my office, from J. Jonah Jameson. After basically posting on Instagram a post that people said was directly comparing being a conservative to being a Jew during the Holocaust. I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. I didn't take what she said that way. And I do think that, Alex, you and I have talked about what she said before. I am interested in a couple things from you. And I did watch your video on it, so I'm not doing this to put you on the spot. But what's your take on what she said? How did you interpret that? And do you think that this was grounds for what happened? I mean, we can certainly get into this, but my issue with this mainly is that I've seen worse or equal things said, even if you interpret what she said directly as literally and said that there's no miscommunication at all. She truly meant that, which I don't think she did. I've seen other things said by other people, even on this same cast, who haven't been fired. So what's the deal?
Right. No, I mean, so I got into my own controversy by covering it, but I'm more than happy to bring it back up. No, I think it's whether, like you said, whether or not you want to take it literal or not. People and you and I have talked about this before. People have said stuff about the former president for quite a long time, many years, and they're allowed to say it as literal as they want, and nothing happens to them. Pedro Pascal is allowed to say whatever he wants. And here's the deal too, because I don't want to have people twist it. I don't really think anybody should be fired. I'm not saying go fire Pedro Pascal. In fact, I don't think he should be fired. He should be allowed to say whatever he wants. Now, he posted literal fake news because those children in cages were not actually from America. That picture wasn't taken here. And the person he was inferring built the cages didn't actually build them. It was the person before him, without saying his name either. But it was a very popular person, let's say. So, you have double standards. That's boiling it down. Whether you believe Gina Carano meant any harm by the post, whether you took offense to it because you're Jewish or whatever, which obviously we can go down that route too. But no matter what you think, there's double standards going on. You can say whatever you want as long as you're part of the mentality of the group in Disney and really the world. Let's not kid ourselves. Disney is obviously ginormous, but it's the same thing if an executive at Walmart or an executive at Warner Bros. Or an executive at Sony, or keep going. If anybody says anything that isn't, backed up by the group, they will be isolated. And that's what Gina Carano was 3-4 weeks ago. And then obviously that post led to her. She was already, like you said, on the outskirts of there. And then she was fired. So to me, it just shows if you're not with them, you're literally the Anakin quote. If you're not with them, you're against them. And it's garbage. It's garbage. And it's not. I hate the discussion of like, well, she deserves it. She should be fired. Well, then Pedro Pascal, I guess, should, right? If we want to be fair, then I guess so. Again, I'm part of the group that says don't fire anybody. You can have problems with what they say all you want. If you don't like what she said, that's fine. I'm not saying don't be angry at her. I'm not saying don't be angry at Pedro Pascal. Be angry. Be angry at Amber Heard. Be angry at Johnny Depp. You know, all that. We talked about that stuff too. But let them work. Don't fire Johnny Depp. Don't, even for Amber Heard, right? All this stuff gets blown out, and it ends up becoming that again. If you're not with them, if you say the wrong thing, and wrong just meaning literally it's not what they believe, then you're out, and that's truly disgusting. Gina Carano's interview, which I know you'll probably bring up later too. Obviously, that backs up a lot of that stuff, that they watch this stuff, they follow this stuff. They do have all the stuff that we say about these companies that you could say, oh, that's just rumor, that's just conspiracy. Nobody actually said it. She said it, and she knows people that are inside the industry. So I do believe her.
Yeah, that's one of the most telling things of this. So first off, I do want to say that people are angry. Well, it goes both ways. I truly think that online there's been more vocal support of her than anger, actually, which I think is interesting. Now, the reason I say that is because, like, there were trending hashtags after she was fired, like, you know, to bring her back or, like, get her justice and stuff like that, too. I mean, I was surprised at how mobilized people were, I guess, to defend her. I think that people are getting tired. So that's one of my first points I want to make. I think people are getting tired of this crap. I think that they want unilateral enforcement of rules if you're going to have it, or none. I don't think they want selective. So, for example, if Pedro Pascal, who I don't want fired, who I think is a good actor as well, who also Gina Carano has said is a good person and a friend, like, to her, even, you know, amidst all this, she went on that the Ben Shapiro show and gave an interview and said that she loves Pedro Pascal, that she, you know, adores him, and that she, you know, it's basically that it's not him, and that the two of them are friends before their beliefs. I think that that's something that should be more commonplace, I suppose. It used to be, you know, it used to be like, hey, I'm a Democrat. Oh, well, I'm Republican. Oh, really? Well, I'm socialist. Well, here's an occasional jab, you know, like joke, but whatever, we're friends. Want to play basketball later? Sure. Hey, you want to go to Starbucks? Yeah, absolutely. You know, stuff like that. Now it's like, hey, who did you vote for? Oh, I voted for Trump. Oh, I won't associate with you. I can't have anything to do with you. I don't want to be your friend. Leave me alone. Go away. And I'm actually going to badmouth you on Facebook. Oh, who'd you vote for? Oh, I voted for Biden. Oh, really? You voted for Sleepy Joe? I hate that guy. Get out of my life. You know, it's that kind of stuff. We don't need this. You know, we don't need this anger. America has not needed this anger, really. This is a lot of the same anger that was happening before the original American Civil War of like, well, screw you because you think differently than me and I don't like that. And there was no compromise. There was no thinking about it. There was no sitting down and trying to explain, hey, listen, you know, you can't have slavery anymore because of the Constitution and this. It was like, no, screw you because you're doing that. No, screw you, you're trying to ruin our economy, and back and forth. And it was just a constant fueling of anger and poking the bear, you know? It was always poke the bear. It was like, it was at the point, not to go too far into history, but it was at the point where when the South, like certain Southern states threatened to secede, one of the sitting presidents at the time, and I don't even remember who it was not Lincoln, this was before that, said, go ahead, we'll kick your ass. Basically, they said, like, go ahead, we'll destroy you. And it was just kind of this poking the bear over and over again. And I get that that's a bit of an extreme example, but I truly think that that's what's going on, not only in Hollywood, but in American society, is this constant poke the bear on each side. It's like, I hate you, I'm going to dehumanize you, I don't care what happens to you, I don't like what you said about this event from, 50, 60 years ago, I don't like that you made a comparison here that I took literally, I want you gone, I want your job gone, I want your career gone, I basically want you dead, is what it is, or at least dead enough that you're no longer ever seen by me again because I can't handle looking at you. It's just this anger. And I don't think that this is okay. I actually agree with what Carano said. She said that about how people are just tearing each other apart, over and over again over beliefs. And I agree with that. I actually do. I'm a fan of Gina Carano. And if people can't handle that from me, if you can't handle that I have a different opinion than you and I don't like that she was fired, I hope you can, because I think that you're a mature adult. I think mature adults should be able to handle that. Even if you're a teenager and you think like, well, Jay's being a dick. I truly still think you're a mature adult. I taught teenagers in high school. I think that you should be able to articulate your points and talk about it with somebody. But if you truly can't and you're that angry, you are welcome to leave. my channel, if you really want to. I don't encourage that. I'm not saying get out, but it's one of those things where it's like people get mad whenever you bring this stuff up. And it's like, if you can only exist in an environment where people re-support what you say over and over again, by all means, go to that environment. That's never going to be this channel. I say what I think. I'm probably too left to make everyone on the right happy and too right to make everyone on the left happy. And I just say what I believe about stuff like this with Carano and with all these things. And I don't think that we should be looking to outside work behavior unless it's a crime to be getting rid of people and eliminating them from their job. I think that truly is witch hunt behavior. I think that it's ridiculous. I don't think it's how adults act, and I don't understand any of this. What do you think, Alex? I feel like I could just keep rambling, but I want more of your input here. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, you introduced the circle of life, which is, and so I made this video, and I had people in the comments, right? So I've kind of seen the full circle play out, and so to address it too, and it goes directly into what you said. So here's how it works. So Gina Carano, people will say, well, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequences. You would not be able to guess how many times I saw that, people telling me that on Twitter or on YouTube. Freedom of speech does not equal freedom of consequences. Well, okay, so if you're saying that she is able to speak, but she should be reprimanded for it, well, again, it goes to Pedro Pascal. Why wasn't he fired? Why wasn't the person who made the decision for John Boyega to be shrunk in the Star Wars poster? Why weren't they fired? Why is Pablo Hidalgo still there going after his fans? Why is Ryan Johnson making a trilogy when he likes Pablo Hidalgo going after fans? Why are these people still there? So again, now you have that. Well, then they say, well, none of that stuff is as bad as what Gina Carano said. Show me is there evidence? Can you even... And that's the problem, is there is none. You can't show me evidence. Again, it goes to, what you and me, Jay, were talking about off, before we recorded, with the whole comparing a certain somebody to also a certain somebody from Germany. Well, obviously, that's okay because that is the mentality of the majority of the group, which honestly, by the way, majority is very subjective. It could be the majority on Twitter. It could be the majority on your street. It could be the majority of your city. It doesn't have to be the majority of the world, though. So, but then you'll have people saying, like I told you, people said this to me, well, at least that's more accurate than Gina. Well, is it? What did he do that was so similar to another certain somebody? Is that really a better comparison than what Gina Carano said? Because then the final thing you could say about Gina Carano, which I do agree with you, I agree. She didn't say that being a Republican equals being a Jew when they were literally being rounded up and murdered, right? That's not what she said. What she said is before that happened, it doesn't just happen on the, it's not like a Thanos snap and all of a sudden all the Jews are just rounded up. That's not how it works. You have to convince the people of how this stuff works. And that is exactly the same. Now, you could argue, and that's okay, by the way. That's the actually important part. You could argue, okay, well, maybe that's not entirely accurate, right? Getting a group of people to literally beat and throw things at a certain group of people, maybe that's not exactly the same to being a Republican now. But again, sometimes those are blanket statements. If you come out as a supporter for certain things now, you cannot deny that you will be treated very, very differently. You will be hated. You could very well be fired. You could be looked down upon, all that stuff. Just as well as me. It doesn't even matter if we have the same politics. It doesn't matter if we have different politics. We all know that's true. We absolutely know that's true. So, and by the way, the person who posted this, Gina Carano, she posts this, the mob goes after her, she gets fired. How? They literally made her point. Then that's what I said in my video. They literally made her point for her. How did that happening? How do you look at that and not say, oh, that's literally what the post said, that she posted something, she thinks a different way, and then the group, the people in power, which would be Disney, which would be executives, which would be higher people than her, they turn around and they go after her, and she is literally the villain, and she gets repercussions. Now, obviously, she's not rounded up into a camp, but she loses her entire life. She loses her career. Now, can she get it back by doing her own stuff? Sure, but that's what happened. So I don't know how you look at that without thinking that literally makes her entire point. I'm very confused. But the rest of the stuff that I said, that's the circle. Is that, well, at least Pedro's thing was more accurate. Well, not really, because he posted fake news. Is Pablo Hidalgo going after Star Wars theory? Is that better or worse than Gina Carano's thing? I say it's miles worse. He literally attacked the biggest fan on YouTube and probably the internet of Star Wars. How is that okay? So you have all this stuff happening that obviously is completely. You have the book writer of the High Republic talking racist stuff about white people. How is that okay? Oh, well, it's because that's all the stuff that I just mentioned. That's how Disney thinks. Now you know. You know, Disney also thinks a certain president is compared to a certain somebody. You know, Disney doesn't care about the fans and what they love. They probably openly mock them. That's how Disney thinks. And if you don't think that, that's okay. You're allowed to do it. It's just we won't give you a job. And that's where people will say, well, again, she deserves it, or she should shut her mouth because maybe she shouldn't be allowed to be on Twitter. Well, then why is Pedro Pascal allowed? Why is Pablo Hidalgo allowed, right? These are the double standards. And I think when you introduce that into this argument, I don't really know what people can say against it.
No, you can't. And also, this is going to sound condescending, but you need diversity in these things is always the argument, right? It's you need diversity of race, of thought, of a religion, all this stuff. And so when the same people saying that, you need X amount of people for this or X amount of people for this or percentage or just a presence, I don't think most people will disagree with that. I think that most people will say, hey, listen, if you have a company of all white guys, maybe there will be some perspectives lost that are not a company of, 4 white guys, 2 people of color, and, this person. Maybe those people can bring a different type of thought in because they grew up with a different type of thought. Nobody disagrees with that, really. Even the people who say, hey, you're forcing this, calm down. But what I'm getting at here is if your point is you need these people to make things better, but fire this problematic woman, and also, which is really funny to me because you have the whole thing, you have this push for women in Hollywood. You have Believe All Women, you have Me Too, you have Time's Up, you have all this stuff.
Even with Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, even with Kathleen Kennedy, you're right, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, you fired a woman for speaking her mind. What would you have preferred? Would you have preferred she shut up and got in the kitchen? That's my problem with this. Is like, what do you want? Do you want this woman to be an active free thinker who actually can think for themselves and speak and not just repeat the company line? Do you want diversity in your company? Do you want a woman? Do you want a woman who can think? Or do you want a woman in a maid outfit who just silently sits there, plays her little role, is sexy, and moves on? That's what it seems like Disney really wants, is just like the pretty, innocent-looking girl who shuts the hell up and gets out of their way. And that's not supporting women. That's not supporting diversity of thought or sex or race or anything. It's not supporting any of it. There's just a lot of hypocrisy here, and I don't understand how people can't see that, and I don't understand how they can't see what's been going on behind the scenes. One thing I was trying to think about whether or not I wanted to mention, which I'm just going to go all in on because we really have here, and I know this will be a longer video. I hope people do enjoy it, but it's what's gone on behind the scenes with Gina too. So, for example, she said that Lucasfilm accidentally sent her a email, and you mentioned this before, that they were watching the Fire Gina Carano hashtag. Like, it wasn't meant to be sent to her, but that essentially they were, keeping their eye on it to see what they should do. She also has said that following her beep boop beep comments, or not comments, like Twitter bio joke about, how people were forcing her to put her pronouns in the bio, which, by the way, I think that's very misogynistic for people to force this woman to put pronouns in her bio if she doesn't want to. She is a strong, independent woman, and she can think for herself. She doesn't need men to tell her what to do, or other women. When she made this joke about how, like, oh, if you're going to force me to put things in my bio, I'll just start throwing random stuff in there. She has said as well, I believe in that same interview with Shapiro, but it might have been elsewhere, that she was like forced to do a Zoom call type thing with a bunch of people from the LGBTQ community to educate herself, by Disney. Yeah. What is up with this? No one cares about this. No one finds this weird that we're forcing this woman. And yeah, Jay's pushing the woman angle. I absolutely am. I will weaponize that angle. Yeah. They do it all the time. It's like, you can't attack this person. They're a woman. Well, what is this? What is this, man? Like, what? How does this work? Why this woman? Why is she the exception?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's only what they think. They, like you said, they want the specific kind of woman. They want the specific kind of black, right? They want all that. And if you're not that, then we're not hiring you, or we'll fire you. And yeah, that interview, that interview was big. I mean, it wasn't. A lot of people have said it, right? If you go online, you watch a lot of the stuff on the interview. A lot of people will say, you know, it wasn't like bombshells, like, oh my God, brand new information. It just reaffirms what we already know. You know, that Disney does, for whatever reason, take these hashtags on Twitter, which is a very small amount of people that actually watch their stuff seriously. You know what I mean? You could look at people that are buying her action figures or the viewership maybe on her episodes that she's in Mandalorian versus other people's episodes. You could look at those, but of course, no, they're going to look at Twitter hashtags because that's where the real fans stand, the one that are in their parents' basements complaining and they don't actually have Disney Plus. Those are the people that you listen to. And that's what Disney does. That's what all these companies do. And again, Jay and I, you know, we're people that say this all the time. And, you know, sometimes you'll have people say, well, we don't know for sure. Well, no, now we do. We do know for sure. We know how it works there. And that's what the most important, I think, part of the interview with Gina Carano was, is that she's aware. She knows people that have been in certain situations. She reaffirms all the stuff we already know about how terrible Hollywood is. And then you can just take a couple extra steps and really you can fill out the board of politics. You can fill out the board of a lot of other stuff just based off that, which I think is really good. And I hope a lot of people really, even though they don't like Gina, hopefully they watch that interview and learn something or open their eyes when they otherwise wouldn't have.
I agree. And I think that looking at this, it really just does expose the hypocrisy, in my opinion, of Disney and Lucasfilm and all this stuff that I hope changes. I think that despite problems with his character in some respects, Walt Disney tried really hard to design a company that would not only make a ton of money, but also cater to fans, make things that they enjoy, make them happy, add to their lives and take away pain from daily life and from struggles and stuff like that. You know, you sit down, you watch a Mickey Mouse cartoon, you have some money, you go visit, the theme parks eventually when those were fully established, stuff like that. And have fun. And yes, they made money off of it, but it was also designed to make us happy, to, like I said, that's the point of entertainment. Not to sound completely nihilistic, but life is painful. Life hurts. Things are hard. They're difficult. It's really confusing. People die. Horrible things happen. Great things happen too, but with all that pain, entertainment is a distraction. It helps us think. It helps us work through personal life problems. It helps compare us to characters. You see Luke Skywalker on screen growing up and you think, I want to be a hero. I want to be that guy. And it helps us develop into well-rounded people. And that was sort of the point. But over the years, Disney has become very, very focused on looking good, on, I don't know, like appeasing certain people and not others. It's just not good. It's not a direction that can sustain itself forever. We've seen that already. We've seen videos released, after the Gina Carano thing that have just been downvoted into oblivion by fans online. People are mad. And yes, there is the subset of people that are happy. They're like dancing on the grave of her career or whatever you want to call it. But I would argue that just tons and tons of people are angry. This has caused a rift I have not seen in the fandom since The Last Jedi. I would argue this is worse, but I don't know. I'm at the point where like I just am starting not to care, about Star Wars. Like there's certain things I want to watch. I don't even know how much I care about The Mandalorian Season 3 because why should I give them my money and time when they're this kind of company? And that's always what the group of people we've been talking about this whole time will say. They'll say, like, this company is awful, boycott it. This company is awful, don't support it. Okay, fine. I can do that too. I can say, like, hey, I don't like what you're doing. I don't have an interest in watching this. I'm not saying I won't. Maybe my interest will be piqued by the time Season 3 comes out. But, this is not a one-sided thing. If Amber Heard is accused of abusing her former partner and no one cares and she gets to keep a lively career, and also there's leaked images of injuries to Johnny Depp and also leaked audio about her basically taunting him into saying, oh, go ahead, try and tell people you're abused. No one will believe you. And this woman can have a job from that company, but Gina Carano can't for an Instagram post. I'm sorry, there's something wrong here. Whether you're far left, far right, centrist, or don't even live in America and think our political system is absolutely stupid, there is something wrong here that it just needs to be fixed. This cannot sustain itself. People are getting angrier and angrier. All the press towards Disney is bad these days. It's not good. I don't know what to add to it. It really makes me angry because of just how stupid they've been over the last decade. And it just seems to have no indication of getting better. I believe it is all hubris. We're Disney. We can't do anything wrong. If you don't like it, piss off. There's not in our Disney. I don't think that that's how you handle these things. And I don't think that this is going to lead to sustained success. Alex, do you have anything to add before we wrap this up? Because I'm getting like increasingly angrier and I feel like I should just stop.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's understandable. It's tough, and especially when you say about the whole like boycotting stuff too. It's like because I love Star Wars, you know, even the newest movie, like even after Last Jedi, like I'm one of the people that despised it, and I was not looking forward really to Rise of Skywalker, and I didn't really, you know, that movie was kind of back and forth in terms of how I think about it, but like I gave them the money, I went to the theaters, and even I have a hard time, you know, because I've said it before too. If you don't like the Amber Heard stuff, you know, don't watch her movies, don't watch Pirates, stuff like that. At the same time, sometime, and because I think it's important to mention that too, right? Because it is easy from either side, right? You have the side that does repeatedly say like, oh, we're going to boycott this, and then maybe you have like a left side, like Twitter. You see a lot of people on Twitter being like, oh, you know, these people always just say boycott it, and they kind of mock the boycott movement. I do understand, though, that it is hard when you say something like that. Like boycotting Pirates to me is pretty difficult. Like I don't want to support the behavior that they did to Johnny, but like it's Pirates. And also, again, we've talked about how other ways of making our frustration heard, right? Because if we watch Mandalorian season 3, maybe we can warn people, or maybe we can talk about it and critique it and make it better in some way going forward from that. So like I get, you know, for anybody that's like, man, you know, I like Gina and I hate what they did, but it is tough to boycott. I hear you. You know what I mean? I think I understand what that's like. I don't want to watch Mandalorian season 3, but I feel like by the time it gets there, maybe I will. So it is a tough thing, but you got to make your voices heard somehow. That's, I think, the most important stuff. That's why 2-3 years ago, I wouldn't have made the Gina Carano video. Like it got me in trouble. Like I lost like 25 people on Twitter. I lost like 35 YouTube subscribers. That day I actually gained a lot more. And it was good. Like that's the good thing, right? I lost a lot of people, but there were people that couldn't handle different opinions. And then actually by just following my gut, following my heart, and being honest about the situation and trying to see the sides of things, I actually got other people, new people, more people that I think are more understanding. And that's kind of why, you know, you have to be able to speak out about these things so that stuff. I'm very happy I made that Gina Carano video. You know what I mean? I was worried going into it, and I lost a lot of people on both platforms, but I actually did really good afterwards. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, it's all frustrating. I completely agree. When I started YouTube, I'm not a like overtly political channel. Neither are you. You know, like we don't sit down and say vote for Biden or vote for Trump or vote for, you know, anyone. Like we don't sit down and do that. But we will talk about things when we think something is wrong, when we don't agree with something. Because we're not political channels, we typically won't be like, Senator Ted Cruz said this thing, you know, like out of nowhere, because it has nothing to do with entertainment. But when it crosses over into entertainment and there's these movements like this, I think it is important to speak up and also to say that nobody is all 100% right on anything. Like with this stuff, I mean, you certainly can have for every example on one side, you can find examples on the other side and get mad at both. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to call out BS, you know, when you see it. And point it out and say like, hey, listen, I don't accept this as a fan. If you want to lose me, fine. Or if you don't want my support, fine. But I'm going to let people know this. And I have 70,000 followers on YouTube, and that's not a ton. But that's a lot of people that are seeing negative headlines about your company pop up. And I'm tiny, you know, compared to the other people doing it. And without naming names, like every time I see Gina Carano videos from certain YouTubers, it's like 500,000 views. You know, those are people that are watching this. And even if you assume that only half of them agreed with them, which they don't, because the ratios are usually like 90% likes, even if you assumed half, that's like 250,000 people your company is alienating. That's a lot. I think they need to start thinking about this. I think they need to start removing themselves from the politics game with policing it. If you're Pedro Pascal and you want to talk about how you don't believe in border control or you don't believe in, you know, the way that it's handled in terms of people being sent back, fine, go for it. If you are Johnny Depp and you want to talk about how men could be abused too, and like actually come out and say that and fight a court case for it, fine, do that. If you want to be Gina Carano and talk about how you think that there's too much witch huntiness and cancel culture and stuff like that, fine, do that. You know, short of you're a criminal or you're hurting people physically, I don't think that these are reasons to be fired. I don't think that any of it really is. I'm tired of all of it, and I just want it to stop. Really, that's what it comes down to. So anyways, thank you very much for watching this video. Be sure to check out Alex's channel. The link is in the description down below. He has a primary channel, Podcast Now, which he does a fantastic job on, covering a wide array of topics. He has talked about Gina Carano himself and Star Wars, also the Marvel Cinematic Universe he's talked about. He has talked about video games, just tons of them, Final Fantasy, Star Wars games, the sky's the limit, Batman, Gotham Knights, Arkham, all these things. They're all over there on his channel. He does a fantastic job with not only video games and movies, but entertainment and pop culture in general. I hope you'll check him out. He is not only a fantastic collaborator, but a fantastic outside of work, personal life friend of mine. I very much support him. I vouch for his character at every turn. I love the guy, so I hope you'll check him out. The links are in the description below. Alex, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks so much for the kind words, and I thought this was an awesome conversation. Hopefully people, again, even if they disagree with us, hopefully at least you understand kind of where we're coming from. But really awesome talk, man, and thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, dude, thanks for being here. I hope people get it too. Like I said, I never try to alienate viewers, but it's like, I understand there will be a subset of people who can't handle a different opinion and just want to go. I get that. I'm sorry to see you go, but like, it's never going to change how I address stuff. I'm never going to be a parrot or not be true to myself on this stuff. I know, Alex, you're not either, and I very much respect that about you, and I'm sure other people will too. So thank you very much again. And as always, everybody, links in the description down below. Be sure to leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Have a fantastic day. And as always, stay shway.